Last class we have discussed about the vector product, two vector products. One is scalar product or dot product, another is vector product or cross product. We have already discussed about the various properties of vector product, and today we will discuss about the last properties of vector product, how we will find the angle between two vectors using cross product. Angle between two vectors using cross product. It is also very important. Let A cross B equal to modulus A modulus B sin theta n cap. We know A cross B equal to modulus A modulus B sin theta n cap, but its magnitude equal to modulus A modulus B sin theta, because n cap is unit vector whose magnitude is 1. Implied sin theta equal to A cross B modulus by A modulus into B modulus. Implied theta equal to sin inverse A cross B modulus by A modulus B modulus. So, using this formula you can also find the angle between two vectors. Using dot product you can also find the angle between two vectors, and using cross product you can also find the angle between two vectors. Here we have to find out the magnitude of A cross B, then individually we have to find out the magnitude of vector A and magnitude of vector B, then substitute the values, then you can find the value of angle between two vectors. Now we will consider one example. Suppose vector A equal to I cap plus j cap and vector B equal to j cap plus k cap, then find angle between vector A and vector B. Then find angle between vector A and vector B. So, how we will solve it? First you write given vector A equal to I cap plus j cap and vector B equal to j cap plus k cap. From relation theta equal to sin inverse A cross B modulus by A modulus B modulus. So, now find A modulus, that is coefficient of I cap is 1, so 1 square, coefficient of j cap is also 1 square, plus k cap of coefficient is 0, 0 square, then take root over. So, this is 1 plus 1 plus 0 equal to root 2 units. Similarly, you can find the modulus of vector B. Here coefficient of I cap is 0, coefficient of j cap is 1 and coefficient of k cap is 1. So, this will also give root 2 units. Now, we have to find out the modulus of A cross B using the by determinant method. We have already discussed in the last class about the cross product, how you will find the cross product using the determinant methods. Now, A cross B, first we have to find out the A cross B. So, I cap, j cap, k cap first row. For vector A, I cap 1, j cap 1, k cap 0. Similarly, for vector b, I cap 0, 1, 1. This is the determinant, plus, minus, plus. Now we have to break this determinant, then we can find out the value of A cross B. So how? First you take I cap, 1 minus 0, then minus j cap, 1 minus 0, plus k cap, 1 minus 0. That means A cross B equal to I cap minus j cap plus k cap. Yes. So now this is the vector A cross B equal to I cap minus j cap. But we have to find out the modulus of A cross B, that is known as magnitude of A cross B. Coefficient of I cap is 1 square, coefficient of j cap is minus 1 square, coefficient of k cap is 1 square root over. This is 1, 1, 1 root over, that is root 3 units. So we have already find out that modulus of A cross B, modulus of A, modulus of B. Then you put these values in the formula, theta equal to sin inverse in plus of A cross B modulus, that is root 3, modulus A root 2, root 2. So this is sin inverse root 3 by 2. Theta equal to sin inverse root 3 by 2. So now we have to find out the value of sin function whose value is root 3. Sin 0 0, sin 31 by 2, then sin 45 1 by root 2, then sin 60 degree, implied theta equal to 60 degree. This is the answer. Angle between given two vector is 60 degree. Okay. So in this way you can find out the angle between two vectors. Now we will discuss about a very important theorem of the vector, that is known as Lami's theorem. Lami's theorem. Vector A, vector B and vector C. So this angle is alpha, this angle is beta, this angle is gamma. So the theorem states that if three vectors, suppose here vector A, vector B, vector C, are acting at a point O. Three vectors are acting at the point O, and the point O is in equilibrium. Then magnitude of vector A is directly proportional to the sin value of angle between other two vectors B and C, that is alpha. That means modulus of A is proportional to sin alpha. Modulus of A proportional to sin alpha. Similarly, modulus of B, magnitude of vector B, is directly proportional to the sin value of angle between other two vectors A and C, that is sin beta, and modulus of C proportional to sin gamma similarly. So here you just modulus A equal to k sin alpha, where k is proportionality constant. If you will remove the proportionality symbol, then you have to multiply constant, that is k, known as proportionality constant. Implied modulus B equal to k sin beta, modulus C equal to k sin gamma. Okay. Now you find k equal to modulus A by sin alpha. Here k equal to modulus B by sin beta equal to modulus B by sin beta equal to modulus C by sin gamma. Implied sin alpha by modulus A equal to sin beta by modulus B equal to sin gamma by modulus C. This is the mathematical representation of Lami's theorem. So we have to prove this theorem, sin alpha by modulus A equal to sin beta by modulus B equal to sin gamma by modulus C. So now see how we will prove this formula, which is known as Lami's theorem. First you mark that this point O is under three vectors A, B and C. Three vectors are acting at the point O, but the point O is in equilibrium, means resultant of three vectors A, B and C are equal to 0. Proof: since point O is in equilibrium, vector A plus vector B plus vector C equal to 0. Resultant of three vectors is 0. Implied A plus B vector equal to minus C vector. So now multiply equation 2 by vector B to both sides. A plus B cross B minus C cross B. Here you just mark that vector B is multiplied at the right of the A plus B, here also right of the minus C vector, because cross product is not commutative. So A cross B plus B cross B equal to B cross C. I can write minus C cross B equal to vector B cross C, because A cross B equal to minus of B cross A. Here A cross B equal to B cross C, equation 3. Since cross product of equal vector is 0, we have already discussed and proved it. So A cross B equal to B cross C. Similarly, again from equation 1, B cross C, B plus C equal to minus A. B plus C equal to minus A. Or you can also take it C plus A. C plus A equal to minus B. C plus A equal to minus B. Now make multiplication A cross B, B cross C. Now multiply A B minus B cross B. Since cross product of two equal vector is 0, so RHS will be 0. Now break the, open the bracket, C cross B plus A cross B equal to 0. Implied A cross B equal to minus of C cross B. Since cross product is not commutative, so A cross B equal to B cross C. This is equation 4. This is equation 4. Similarly, you can also prove that again from equation 1, A plus B equal to minus C. Implied A plus B cross vector C so C cross C, since they are equal vectors, their cross product is 0. Therefore, A cross C plus B cross C equal to 0. Implied B cross C equal to minus of A cross C. Implied B cross C equal to C cross A. This is equation 5. So, in equation 3, there was A cross B equal to B cross C. In equation 5, B cross C equal to C cross A. Now, from equations 3 and 5, A cross B equal to B cross C equal to C cross A. This is equation 6. So, you can also prove if 3 vectors, a point is in equilibrium under 3 vectors, then the resultant is 0. Then you can also prove from this relation that A cross B equal to B cross C equal to C cross A. Now, you see A cross B, we have to find out the value of, A cross B. This is modulus A, modulus B. Angle between vector A and B is gamma. So, this is sin gamma. And before finding A cross B, you can also write another one step, modulus A cross B modulus equal to B cross C modulus equal to C cross A modulus. So, A cross B modulus means AB sin gamma, B cross C modulus means vector B and C angle is alpha, that is BC sin alpha, C cross A means CA sin beta. Now, divide each term by the modulus of vector A, vector B and vector C. So, BC sin alpha by ABC, CA sin beta by ABC. So, here these terms are cancelled. So, finally, sin gamma by C equal to sin alpha by A equal to sin beta by B. Now, you can arrange in the order. This is sin alpha by modulus A equal to sin beta by vector B equal to sin gamma by vector C, which is Lami's theorem, proved. So, in this way you can prove the Lami's theorem. These are all about the vectors, scalars and vectors with different properties, their addition, multiplication, subtraction and various properties. Now we will discuss about the new chapter, mechanics. Actually, mechanics is branch of physics which deals with study of motion of a body and the body is at rest. Suppose a body is in motion, what are happening and what are the causes? That belongs to mechanics. Suppose a body is at rest, and when the body is at rest and we will study about its various properties, then that is also mechanics. So, mechanics is branch of physics which deals with study of a body in motion or a body at rest, and this is divided into two parts. One is statics, another is dynamics. Statics, branch of mechanics which deals with study of a body in motion. If a body is in motion and we will study about it, then that is statics. Sorry, in rest. If a body is at rest and we will study about it, then that is known as statics, which is branch of mechanics. If the body is in motion, that is known as dynamics. So, dynamics is also branch of mechanics which deals with study of a body in motion, and statics, it is also branch of mechanics which deals with study of a body at rest. Again, dynamics divided into two parts, that is kinetics and kinematics. Kinematics deals with study of a body in motion without any cause. Without any cause. Suppose a body is in motion, what are happening? We are not bothered about the cause of the motion, then that is known as kinematics. Here, in kinematics, we will discuss about distance, displacement, speed, velocity, etc. But in kinetics, it is branch of dynamics which deals with study of a body with cause of motion, with cause of motion. That means a body is in motion. What is the cause? The basic cause of motion is force. So, mechanics which deals with study of motion with cause force is known as kinetics. So, here momentum, work, energy, power, etc. There are various terms which related with kinetics, and distance, displacement, speed, velocity, etc. deals with kinematics. So, mechanics is branch of physics which deals with study of a body at rest or in motion, and it is divided into two categories, statics and dynamics. Statics deals with a body at rest, dynamics deals with study of a body in motion. Again, dynamics divided into two parts, kinetics and kinematics. Kinematics deals with study of a body in motion without any cause, but kinetics deals with study of a body with cause, that is force related. Okay? So, now we will discuss, we will go to the chapter kinematics. First, we will discuss about the study of a body in motion without any cause. So, first we will discuss about distance and displacement. Distance and displacement. This is very much important. Suppose a body is starting from the point A and moving in this path, and it is coming to point B in this path. That means its initial point, starting point is A and final point is B. The body is moving from A to B in this path. So, which is distance and which is displacement? So, our motto is to discuss about which is distance and which is displacement. The path covered by the body is known as distance, and the straight line joining from point A to point B, or this is the shortest distance between any 2 points, is known as displacement. So, A is initial point, B is final point. So, this straight line is known as displacement, and the path covered by the body is known as distance. So, first we will discuss about distance. It is path covered by the body. It is path covered by the body. And displacement, it is shortest distance between any 2 points. Shortest distance between any 2 points, or it is straight line joining from initial point. This initial point is also known as starting point. Initial point to the final point. Since distance is path covered by the body, there is no particular direction. Direction is changing at every point. Hence, distance is scalar quantity. Distance is a scalar quantity. It has no particular direction. It has only magnitude. But displacement, you just mark that it has a particular direction from initial point to final point, A to B, and it has also magnitude. So, it has both magnitude as well as direction. Hence, displacement is known as vector quantity. So, this is scalar quantity, this is vector quantity. Units: meter in SI system, centimeter in CGS system, foot in FPS system. MKS SI in both system, unit is meter, and here centimeter CGS, and foot in FPS system, British system. For distance as well as displacement, distance and displacement. Both have same unit, and in the first chapter we have discussed about the dimension. So, what will the dimension of distance and displacement? Since distance related to length, displacement related to length, dimension will m0, L1, T0, 0, 1, 0. This is the dimension of distance and displacement. That means 0 in mass, 1 in length, and 0 in time. That means distance and displacement does not depend on mass, depends on the length once, and does not depend on time. So, these are the definition, and these are the scalar and vector quantities. These are the units and dimensions. Now, we will take some examples to find out in different cases we will find out the distance and displacement. So, main thing is displacement is from straight line joining from initial to final point, and path covered by the distance is known as, by the body is known as distance. So, we will take some examples. then we can distinguish between distance and displacement in a better way. First, you see a body is moving from point A to point B first, then B to C. This is 4 meter, this is 3 meter. So in this case, distance 7 meter, displacement also 7 meter, because path covered by the body from A to C is 7 meter, 4 plus 3, and initial point is A, final point is C. So straight line joining from initial point to final point is also 7 meter. So 7 meter, 7 meter. Then we will take another example. Suppose a body is moving from A to B 10 meter, and again it is returning in the same path to point C, that is suppose 5 meter. So what will be the distance? 10 meter plus 5 meter, that is 15 meter. But what will be displacement? Displacement initial point A and final point is C. So displacement is from A to C, that means 10 minus 5, that is 5 meter. That is 5 meter. Now take another example, 3. Suppose body is moving from A to B 7 meter, and it is returning in the same path but crossing the point A and it is coming to point C, that is 10 meter. Okay, you just mark in example 3, a starting point is A. First it is moving from A to B 7 meter in a straight line. Then again same straight line it is returning. I have just shown it in the just at the below of the line AB. Say, but it is in the same line, but crossing point A, it is coming to point C. Total is 10 meter. So what is the distance? Distance is 17 meter, but displacement is the minus 3 meter. A to C 10 meter minus 7, 3 meter, but it will be minus because it has changed its direction. Since displacement is vector quantity, initially its direction is supposed towards east and finally its direction is towards west. So minus 3 meter. Here displacement will be negative. 4. Suppose a body is moving from A to B, it is 4 meter, then it is coming to point C, that is 3 meter. So in this case, distance is A to B plus B to C, path covered by the body is known as the distance. So AB plus BC, 4 meter plus 3 meter, 7 meter is the distance. But displacement is the straight line joining from initial point to final point. So SC is the displacement, put an arrow at C because direction is from A to C. So SC equal to 5 meter according to Pythagoras theorem. You use Pythagoras theorem, 4 square plus 3 square and then make root over, you will get 5 meter. So here distance equal to 7 meter, displacement equal to 5 meter. In example 5, suppose a body is moving in a circular path in anti-clockwise direction. It is coming from A, starting from A and making one complete cycle. Again it is reaching at A. So distance is the circumference because path covered by the body is known as circumference. Circumference is 2 pi r, radius is 2 meter. So this is 4 pi 4 into 3.141, 12.564 meter. But displacement, very interesting, here displacement is 0, because in a complete cycle the particular body is starting from initial point and again it is coming to the initial point. That means initial point and final point both are same, so displacement will be 0. Then we can also take another example. Suppose in a semicircle, radius is 2 meter. The particle is starting from A to B. So here distance is half of the circumference, that is pi r, that is 2 pi 2 into 3.141 to 6.282 meter. 6.282 meter. But displacement, it is straight line joining from initial point to final point, that is A to B. That means it is the diameter. So radius is 2 meter, diameter will be 4 meter. So these are the examples and to find out distance and displacement. So from these examples, here you find one thing. Here distance is positive, displacement is positive. Here distance is positive, displacement is positive. Here distance is positive, but displacement is negative. Here distance positive, displacement positive. Here distance is positive, but displacement is 0. Here distance is positive, displacement is positive. That means displacement may be 0, negative and positive, but distance is always positive. This is the basic difference between distance and displacement. So displacement may be 0, may be positive, may be negative, but distance is always positive. Then you see another thing. Here distance, displacement are equal. In second example, distance is greater than displacement. Third, distance is greater than displacement. Fourth example, distance is greater than displacement. Fifth example, distance is greater than displacement. Sixth example, distance is also greater than displacement. So it concludes that distance may be equal to displacement or greater than displacement. Always distance is never less than the displacement. So from these examples we get two things, two conclusions which are very important, that number one, displacement may be 0, positive and negative, but distance is always positive. This is the first conclusion. Second, distance is always equal to displacement or greater than displacement. It will never less than displacement. So always equal or greater. Here displacement may be 0, may be positive, may be negative, but distance is always positive. This is the conclusion drawn from these examples. So now we will discuss about the rest and motion of a body. Now we will discuss about rest and motion of a body. rest and motion. How we will say a body is at rest or in motion? So, you see, a body is at rest means the position of a body will remain constant or will not change with reference to any fixed point or reference point. Suppose this is x axis, this is y axis, this is origin O. Suppose this is point P. You just measure the distance from O to P at some time interval. At some time interval. You just make interval 10 seconds. You measure the distance from O to P. If value of distance will remain constant, then point P is at rest. If the value of distance will vary with respect to time, then the body is in motion. Suppose you see, suppose in this blackboard or in this wall is 2 dimension, x axis and y axis. There is a lizard. You take the origin and you measure the distance from origin to that position of the lizard. If it is constant in a particular time interval, according to particular time interval, then the lizard is at rest. If it will vary, then the lizard is in motion. In this way, we can define rest and motion, that a body is said to be at rest if its position remains constant with respect to any fixed coordinate or surrounding. Fixed coordinate or surrounding. You just mark, if 2 trains are at rest in the platform, you are also a passenger of one of that train. Suppose out of 2 trains, 1 train is in motion. Suppose it starts moving or starts motion. Immediately you cannot tell which train is in motion, your train or in another train. You have to see a reference point to a electric pole or to a building. Then you can say which train is in motion, your train is in motion or another train is in motion. So we have to consider, or we have to fix first a reference point or a coordinate system. Then we can explain or say whether the body is at rest or in motion. If distance or position will remains constant, then the body is at rest. If it varies, then the body is in motion. But one thing, what is absolute rest and absolute motion body? Absolute rest and absolute motion. Just I am taking an example. Suppose you are in a moving bus and you are observing that outside the bus the trees are in motion, but the passenger who is outside the bus, he is telling no, the trees are at rest, but inside the moving bus the passenger is telling the trees are in motion. So which is true? When bus is moving, trees are in motion, but when bus is at rest, the trees are at rest. So which is true? So we cannot say which is absolute true. The passenger in the moving bus is telling trees are in motion, that is not absolute motion. The passenger which is outside the bus waiting for the bus telling trees are at rest, that is also not absolute rest, because earth is moving around the sun. So earth is not at rest, earth is also in motion. So the reference point and the coordinate systems which are fixing on the earth, they are not absolute rest, they are also in motion. So in the universe there is no absolute rest and absolute motion body in our universe. It is a hypothetical concept. Okay, now we will discuss about various types of motion, that is the basic motion types of motion are translational motion, and second is rotational motion. Translational motion means a body is moving along a straight line or straight path, that is known as translational motion. Suppose a train is moving on a straight track, that is known as translational motion. And in rotational motion, a body is moving in a circular path, that means there are large number of points in the body, and body is moving, since body is moving in the circular path, these particles or these points are also moving in the circular path. That means there is a common center, a body is moving means there is a common center, and all the particles are revolving in the circular path, but they have different radius. They have different radius, but having common center. These are known as rotational motion. Translational motion is also known as linear motion. Linear motion means a body is starting from a point and moving in a straight path. So its distance is varying from this fixed point gradually. So this is linear motion. Similarly, in case of rotational motion, if we will consider a single particle, then the particle will move in such a path. That is known as circular motion, and this fixed point is known as center. The fixed distance is known as radius, and the path is known as circumference. So here this is circular motion and this is linear motion. This is linear motion. So basic difference between the linear motion and circular motion is, in case of linear motion, the particular body is moving in such a path, its distance from the fixed point is changing gradually. But in case of circular motion, the body or particle is moving in such a path that its distance from the fixed point, that is center, remains constant, that is known as a radius. So this is the basic difference between the linear motion and the circular motion. Now you come to the point and we will discuss about the speed. Speed. It is defined as rate of change of distance. Rate of change of distance. That means distance is changing with respect to time. Rate means time. So change of distance with respect to time is known as speed. So you can also define that time rate of change of position of a particle is also known as speed. Suppose here a body starts from O and it is coming to point A. Suppose here time is 0, starting point, initial point time is 0. When the particle is at the point A, time is t1, and when the particle is at the B, time is t2. And suppose distance from O to A is x1 and O to B is x2. Here you see distance AB equal to x2 minus x1, time taken from A to B equal to t2 minus t1. So average speed V equal to x2 minus x1 by t2 minus t1. This is delta x by delta t. Delta x means change in distance, that is final distance minus initial distance. Delta t means change in time, that means final time minus initial time. So delta x by delta t. When delta t tends to 0, then time is very small, that is known as instantaneous speed. Then instantaneous speed v equal to limit delta t tends to 0, delta x by delta t equal to dx by dt. So final speed, mathematical speed v equal to dx by dt. Dx by dt means rate of change of distance known as speed. So in general, speed is distance by time. The general mathematical formula is v equal to x by t, that is distance by time. So now we will find out the units of distance. Units of distance. In SI, this is meter by second or meter second inverse. In CGS, this is centimeter by second or centimeter second inverse. In FPS system, this is foot per second or foot second inverse. These are units of distance. Then dimension. How you will find dimension? Meter, it is for length. Second, it is for time. So finally m0 L1 t minus 1, 0 1 minus 1, and distance is a scalar quantity. Sorry, speed is a scalar quantity. Since distance is scalar quantity and time is also scalar quantity, so scalar by scalar, when you divide a scalar quantity by a scalar quantity, it will give another scalar quantity. So speed is a scalar quantity. Okay, that's all. We will discuss in next class.